In the headlines, Nigeria's federal government withdraws contempt charges against the organized labor. President Tinubu inaugurates committee on fiscal policy and tax reforms. Makurdi community protests lack of power supply. And on the foreign scene, Niger military names economist as the country's prime minister. Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to the news update on Trust TV. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. We start in Abuja as the federal government has announced its withdrawal of a suit of contempt filed against the organized labor for embarking on a nationwide protest. In a letter to the lead counsel of the organized labor, Femi Falana, SAN, the federal government announced its withdrawal of the suit against the labor unions. The organized labor had threatened to embark on a nationwide strike action from August 14th if the federal government fails to withdraw its contempt of court charges against the unions. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has inaugurated the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms in Abuja. The president had 4 weeks ago set up the committee chaired by the fiscal policy partner and Africa tax leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers, Taiwo Oyedele. The committee has experts from both private and public sectors as members. Special advisor to the president on revenue, Adelabu Adedeji, had explained that the president recognized the importance of a sound fiscal policy environment and an effective taxation system for the functioning of the government and the economy. In other news, the Northern Consensus Movement is calling the attention of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to withdraw his planned agenda of a military strike action against Niger Republic. The call is coming on the back of the president's request to the Nigerian Senate seeking the implementation of a 7-point resolution of ECOWAS on Niger Republic's political crisis, some of which involves military action, cutting off electricity supply to Niger Republic, among many others. The report.
According to the group, Nigeria can't afford to support any military joint operations of ECOWAS, especially in terms of its financial implications, while recommending diplomacy and dialogue as measures to resolve the impasse.
The decision of military attack can lead to civil war. States with land border with Niger Republic that will be on the firing line are Sokoto, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Jigawa, Yobe, and Borno states. The Northern Consensus Movement is worried about the president's request from the Senate seeking implementation of a 7-point resolution against Niger Republic, some of which involves military action, cutting off electricity supply to Niger Republic, etc. But does the president know the implication of this resolution?
Group, while entertaining fear that Nigeria's crisis, if escalated, might be difficult to contain as it will have negative effect on the African continent and Nigeria in particular, with over 100,000 IDPs in DIFA. NCM appealed to Nigeria's past military head of state and generals to advise President Tinubu in the interest of both Nigeria and Niger Republic.
In fact, we are calling on the likes of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, General Yakubu Gawan, and all others, the General T.Y. Danjuma, whom have experience, including the immediate past president, General Muhammadu Buhari, to make the president understand the implication of waging a war, most especially with a country like Niger that is our sister.
With the deadline given to Niger Republic by ECOWAS already elapsed, tension has continued to heighten in the region, while the world awaits to see the next line of action by ECOWAS. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Now, the police in Lagos has arrested a 43-year-old man who allegedly scammed a US-based Nigerian of 105 million naira. The suspect allegedly committed the crime alongside his wife and 3 others. Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 2 in Lagos State, Ari Muhammad Ali paraded the suspect alongside his accomplices.
At this point, he had in his hand a grounded pepper that was unknown to the Uber driver. He applied the pepper on the face of the driver and immediately jumped down. The driver immediately jumped down because he could no longer see. And Olamide took over the steering and drove away the car. The complainant made a report at the Okowa division on same day and later became our office. After some days, on receipt of this petition, I detailed a team of monitoring unit again that went after the criminals. Not however run against them, and one of the suspects was arrested. And of course, he's currently with us. The car has been recovered. The suspect is still with us, and the investigation is ongoing.
Now, residents in Adamawa State have continued to groan over the rising cost of living in the country as food prices continue to skyrocket since the removal of fuel subsidy. A bag of maize in Yola currently sells between 40 to 70,000 naira a bag. Salis Lawan visited one of the grain markets in Yola South and now reports.
Since the implementation of the removal of the fuel subsidy by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, prices of foodstuff, transportation and other commodities have automatically increased, a development that has not gone down well with many Nigerians, especially low-income earners. Last week, a bag of maize was sold between 50 to 55,000 and 60,000 naira in this market, but now it goes for 70,000 naira, an increase of 10,000 within a week. Marketers blame the development on insecurity and the fuel subsidy removal.
Wannan buhunan da yake gani wanda aka sa elwil din nan mai wannan koren buhu abin da zane a jikin sannan yau dai abin da farashin sa yake a nan 70,000 ne.
We should not be blamed because we travel very far to bring in these cereals. You know how difficult it is to transport goods this time. Big bag of maize is now 70,000, while medium is between 50 to 60,000 naira. Last week, a fire outbreak destroyed property worth millions of naira at the Grand Street of the market, commonly referred to as Lain Masunika, while stakeholders assured of help for those affected. Victims of the fire outbreak are soliciting for more assistance, saying even the first assistance promised to them by the state government and their representatives is yet to reach them.
Gaskiya asaran da nayi daga miliyon 1 zuwa sama asaran da na san nayi shi a wannan shago.
I lost over 1 million naira to the fire outbreak, and there are shops I know that had in stock goods worth millions of nairas. That's why we need more assistance.
Some of the shops said they lost something about more than 5 million, and the other shop is they lost more than 3,500,000 and above. And our loss, we just thank God for what the governor Ahmadu Fikri has purchased, giving us and the member representing Yola North and Yola South. We even thank God for what he has done. But seriously, our losses, we cannot recover it as well as before. Yan kasuwan Yola muna muku bakin ciki da abun da ya faru.
I pray to God to prevent a future occurrence and also replenish what you lost to the inferno. Moreover, you people need to be sure that you switch off all your electrical appliances at the close of work.
Stakeholders have also called for assistance for the victims to enable them return to their businesses. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
Well, members of the National Youth Service Corps deployed to Abuja are finding it difficult to cope with the rising cost of transportation across the capital city as a consequence of the removal of fuel subsidy. A section of the Youth Corps members are urging the government as well as their places of primary assignment to review working days and possibly increase their allowances. Dorcas Yakubu tells us more.
The recent fuel price increase has brought about increases in cost of food, transportation fares. Corps members in Abuja are not immune from the hike in the cost of transportation. Though prices of basic necessities have gone up, allowance of the Corps members, however, remains the same. The Corps members said that their allowance is not enough to cater for their basic needs.
We are not finding it easy as a Nigerian and as a corps too. Prices of things have added, especially price of transportation, foodstuff, and the rest. Then we used to spend less to come for CDS and PPA, but now we spend ×2 of what we used to spend before. So as a Nigerian and as a corper, it's very hard for us.
Just from our house alone, we are spending nothing less than 2,000 to 3,000 naira just to get to our place of CDS. So it's not funny at all, and we are not really gaining anything. Even though, yes, we are serving our nation, at least our feeding, our accommodation and anything. So it's really on us, and we have to go extra mile just to see extra money again, so for us to survive. So we pray that the government will help us at the end.
And coupled to the fact where we actually reside, it's quite far from our PPA, and the transport is not encouraging at all. We spend a lot. Within 1 to 2 weeks, we've spent 33,000, and we see nothing funny. It's not funny at all, and all the things we've been receiving, we use it for transport.
Yeah, I feel if it's possible, they should reduce working days for corpers and also increase the alawi so we would be able to run around as well. Because if at the end of the day, the only thing we use our alawi for is to save it for transportation and maybe to get something to eat when you're hungry. There's no savings with alawi.
It's really taking a toll, especially on Corps member 7. You know, the inflation of transport prices, like before from here to Kubwa is about 400 to 500, but now it's 700.
They appealed to government to review working days and also increase their allowance. Dorcas Yakubu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The Kano State High Court has granted administrative bail to the former managing director of Kano Agriculture Support Company Limited, KASCO, Bala Muhammad Inua, who was arrested over allegations of diversion of 4 billion naira belonging to the company. Inua was arrested by the Kano State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission for allegedly breaking into a warehouse confiscated in the ongoing investigation into the alleged 4 billion naira fraud during his stewardship as managing director of KASCO. However, during a court sitting on Tuesday, Justice Usman Naabba granted the suspect bail on self-recognition on the grounds that he had been kept in custody of the Anti-Corruption Commission beyond the permissible time by law. You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up ahead, we tell you the story of residents living without power supply in Benue State for months on end. Details coming up ahead after the break. Welcome back to the news update on Trust TV. Here's a quick reminder of our top stories at this hour. Nigeria's federal government withdraws contempt charges against the organized labor. And President Tinubu inaugurates Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. Right, Azman Airline has sent all its staff members on compulsory leave without pay after suspending its commercial operations. Now, the leave follows the end of its Hajj operations and the unavailability of its Boeing 737 aircrafts that are currently undergoing maintenance. In a circular signed by the Human Resources Manager, Magaji Muhammad Misau, only 8 senior staff members are exempted from the compulsory leave. Now, the circular notified staff members of the suspension of domestic operations for the foreseeable future due to the ongoing maintenance of their aircrafts. The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, says the Nigerian Navy is taking the war against oil theft and economic sabotage in the maritime domain to the criminals in order to end the menace across the Niger Delta region. Admiral Ogala spoke during a familiarization tour of naval facilities across Rivers State. The report.
Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, said the Navy will improve its surveillance capabilities and beam its searchlight more on the creeks and riverine areas where illegal oil bunkering activities take place more. He emphasized that the move will enable the Navy to strike the criminals even before they go into the act.
Then with respect to what we are going to do, we are going to improve our surveillance capability because we want to be able to strike the criminals even before they go into the act. We want to arrest them while they are planning, while they are thinking about it. So we don't want to be on the defensive. We want to take the war to the criminals. Well, the issue of allegation of involvement of our personnel in oil theft, this is the age of social media. And many people who do not even have the full details, they just put something up there. But if you go through some of those allegations and investigate them, you find out that the basis of those allegations are unfounded. For instance, somebody will just see a vessel somewhere, he will say, oh, the military are involved. He doesn't even know whether there's proper approval from NNPC for that vessel to load. But he will put it on social media that he saw some military men on board the vessel and that vessel is engaged in illegal bunkering without having the correct information. But whatever the case may be, anytime we receive such allegation, we investigate it properly.
Vice Admiral Ogala, while reacting to the allegations of involvement of personnel in oil theft, noted that such claims are unfounded, adding that several investigations carried out showed that most of the allegations are not true.
So far, our investigations have been showing that most of the allegations are not true. But each time, we still respond to them by investigating properly so that if there's element of truth in it, we hold the personnel responsible and we apply the law according to the Armed Forces Act. It has a very severe consequence, ranging from imprisonment to dismissal, which we apply on. So there have been such cases in the past and appropriate action were taken. But I bet you more than 90-something% of those allegations are just based on social media hype without proper background.
Among the areas the Chief of Naval Staff visited were onshore facilities at the Federal Ocean Terminal, Onne, Naval Training College, Onne, Forward Operating Base, Boni, Nigerian Basic Training School, Onne, Naval Medical Center, Nigerian Navy Hydrographic School at the Naval Shipyard Limited, Burikiri, Port Harcourt.
Well, the Mwekwe community in Makurdi has been without electricity supply for months now. Members of the community have staged a peaceful protest to demand the restoration of electricity supply to their community. Jimmy Azande sent in this report from Makurdi, the Benue State capital.
The protesting youth with placards and green leaves expressed their displeasure for living without electricity in the last 6 months.
That this particular transformer that is serving us now is not even our transformer. And this, our own very transformer has been serving us, has served us for 47 years.
Youth in the community who barricaded the entrance gates of Makurdi Power Distribution Office were addressed by the management of JEDC and the NSCDC.
From their discussion, it has been agreed 3 o'clock, the team of JED will be in Demepe to assess the capacity of those 2 or 3 transformers that are working. And we want to say we are very sorry for all the embarrassment and the suffering you have gone through. We are quite aware and we are actually going to work towards ensuring stable supply in your community.
The protesters later returned to the community, anticipating quick restoration of electricity supply.
Habibat with Jimmy Azande's report there. Now, in other news, exploration and mining of uranium is set to commence in Mika area of Yoro local government area of Taraba State. An environmental consultant to Kalisva company, Leonard Kema Lolam, revealed this during a meeting organized by the Federal Ministry of Environment to review environmental impact assessment of the proposed uranium mining project in the state. He said, as part of Nigeria's Nuclear Regulation Authority, the prerequisites for the Kalisva company is to visit the uranium site at Mika. An environmental impact assessment was required from the Ministry of Environment for non-radiological aspect of the project. Mining of uranium in Taraba State, when it commences, will be the first in the history of Nigeria. A company named Kalisva Solution has secured a license from the Federal Ministry of Environment to undertake uranium exploitation and exploration, as well as mining within a leased area covering 26 square kilometers in Mika. Now, 2 weeks after the military takeover in Niger Republic, the coup plotters have named former Economy Minister Ali Lamin Zain as the country's new Prime Minister. A spokesperson for the military junta in Niger Republic made the announcement on television late on Monday. Lamin Zain was formerly the Minister of Economy and Finance for several years in the cabinet of then-President Mamadou Tanja, who was ousted back in 2010 and most recently worked as an economist for the Africa Development Bank in Chad, according to Nigerian media reports. At the end of July, the military ousted the democratically elected President Mohamed Bazoum and suspended the constitution in the country of 26 million inhabitants. Under Bazoum, Niger had been one of the last strategic partners of the West in the fight against the advancement of Islamist terrorists in the Sahel region. An ultimatum from the Economic Community of West African States to the coup plotters to reinstate Bazoum expired over the weekend. ECOWAS would take measures that could include force, according to the ultimatum. Now, the leaders of ECOWAS member states will now meet in Abuja on Thursday, August 11th, to discuss how to proceed with regards to the impasse in Niger Republic. At least 2 persons were killed as hundreds of thousands of premises were left without power and thousands of flights were cancelled after intense storms lashed much of eastern United States. Millions of people on Monday were under severe weather alerts, including tornado watches as rains, strong winds and hail swept east along nearly the entire eastern seaboard from Alabama to New York. The National Weather Service had predicted a moderate risk of hazardous storms with gusts up to 130 kilometers per hour. The storm spread was massive, with tornado watches and warnings posted across 10 states from Tennessee to New York. As much of the severe weather danger subsided into the late evening, some areas face flood threats as it continues to rain. Now, England and Chelsea player Lauren James has apologized to Nigeria's Michelle Alozie for her red card and inhuman action against the Nigerian player in the round of 16 clash between England and the Super Falcons. James stepped on Alozie in the 85th minute of the game of an intense contest and was originally cautioned by the referee. The decision was, however, overturned following VAR's intervention as she was later sent off. She has since then come under heavy fire from football lovers across the globe, which led to her turning off comment sections on her Twitter page. The British player made an apology to the Nigerian player, stating that she has learned from her mistake. England, despite playing more than 35 minutes of the game, a player down, held the Nigeria Super Falcons to a goalless draw before securing a quarter-final spot via penalty shootout, which they won 4-2. And in boxing, Anthony Joshua will fight Robert Helenius in London this Saturday after the Finnish boxer was parachuted in as late replacement for Dillian Whyte. The scheduled all-British heavyweight bout was cancelled last weekend when an adverse analytical finding were detected in a doping test conducted on Dillian Whyte, who has vowed to clear his name. Helenius, 39 years of age, fought in his homeland on Saturday but has answered the call to take on the former two-time world heavyweight champion. Helenius, who has 32 wins and 4 defeats from his 36 professional bouts, was knocked out in the first round by Deontay Wilder back in October. Well, that's the size of our package at this news hour. Thank you very much for joining us. Feel free to follow us across our social media platforms for more content and for more news. Do check out our website, trusttv.com. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching.